Hello everyone, this is kirbyone again. I'm going to do a little something different today, just a little extra treat for everyone to add some diversity to my channel. Not a whole lot of diversity, obviously, still Dominions 5, but just a little something different from showing you my game, showing you an episode a day. Just something to give you a little sense into what it is like to be me and what kinds of things I think about. And the kinds of things I think about are what is going to be the title of this sort of mini-series. Not regular, not episodic, but just every so often I'm going to have an idea pop into my head and I'm going to share it with you. And so this mini-series is going to be called Stupid Crazy Builds. What I'm going to do with this series is I'm going to pick a trait from units, all the units that I can find and think of in the game using the DOM inspector, and I'm going to try and find the way to get to the maximum possible value of that trait. I'll show you what I mean in the pretenders that I have. Well, right now this is the only sample that I'm going to show you guys. What I have done with this is try and get the highest possible value of fear that can be had in the game. Now, from looking around in the DOM inspector, I just basically entered the value for their attribute fear and then said greater or equal to than such value. And it kept going up and up and up until I got to around 25. Now, 25 is the highest starting value for fear on a pretender chassis, and it doesn't look like in the DOM inspector that there are any recruitable, summonable, or any kind of other units in the game that have as high of a fear for just starting, just base. Now, he's cool because his Plague Breath also adds area fear and stuff like that, so that'll be fun to play around with. He shape changes into a mummy, which actually lowers his fear value then a little bit. But other than that, some competitors for top place were, let me see if I can find, in like Egyptian nations, the Devourer of Souls also has a pretty high fear value, 16. And I'm not thinking of anyone else off the top of my head, but those were two of the ones that I experimented with. In any event, oh, actually, let me go back and double check that again. So the Dracolich is actually Jotun only, which is kind of funny because I'm, as you guys are watching in the other channel, fighting the Frost Giants, but it's in any age, and you can get him. He's the he shape changes into a bog mummy, but the bog mummy that he shape changes into is not an immortal, because then you'd have an immortal dragon chassis, and that'd be kind of overpowered. He actually starts with fear 17, so that's why I was saying, like, you looked at the I looked at the Devourer of Souls, he had 16, he has 17. That's his starting value. Now, the reason it went up is because of death magic. If you, for every point that you increase in death magic, you increase their fear value. And this is any unit that has death magic and natural starting fear. Like, you can't just take 2 points of death magic and be like, yeah, I'm scary now. No, it doesn't work like that. You are more scary because you practice death magic and all that stuff. So I actually created a game because 25 is what you can get with just death magic and your starting chassis. But how high can you really get? I'm pairing up with Airmore so I could get a couple death gems fed to myself. Oh yeah, so I've been playing this game as not seriously as you could possibly play a game of Dominions for quite a while now, and just been amassing basically enough in order to max it out. This is what I came up with. He actually died recently, so that's unfortunate. because he is a dragon, he can only actually have 2 miscellaneous slots and a crown slot. Not a helmet slot, a crown slot. It has to be specifically a crown. It can't just be any helmet. Now I'll shape change because, as you see, he can turn into a mummy, which then gives him more slots to open up. But that does lower his fear. Oh, I shouldn't have shown you that yet. Spoilers, big reveal coming up. It does lower his base fear, and if you change back into a dragon, then he loses those items. So he's not actually holding, like, you know, a two-handed item or anything like that. I might have... Yeah, I have I basically, so I also did the same thing as I did with units and pretenders with items. I just typed in fear value and then said, what are all of the items in the game that give you fear? Now, in terms of a crown and 2 miscellaneous slots, there are these 3 items that I decided give you the most fear. Crown of Despair, which is an artifact, level 8 construction, and gives fear 5, in addition to a lot of other very nice stuff. It is cursed, so he's stuck with it, but I'm not really playing as if it's serious. Now, Gift of Kirby gives fear 30. This is huge. This is like the biggest fear bonus item in the game. Most units don't even start with that much fear. It also gives you a ton of other stuff. Send Lesser Horror, call Lesser Horror at the beginning of the battle. Protective Force, Ethereal. He's already flying, so that's not a big deal. Storm Immunity. Now it is cursed and tainted. He been carrying this a while, so he goes insane every so often, and he's pretty much gets attacked by a horror every other turn. So not particularly like useful in a lot of circumstances, but for this one unique build it was essential. And then the Black Book of Secrets gives him death and blood. He doesn't have any blood, so that's not a big deal. And then fear as a miscellaneous slot. There are very few miscellaneous slot items that give fear. And so his total fear comes to, drumroll, 71 fear on 1 unit. Now, you might look at this and say, oh, that is awesome. I just want to send this one guy in, have him stare at a bunch of indies, and have them all run away. Well, it doesn't really work like that. Having a high fear like that, what it really does is it affects a greater range. His fear aura is very, very big now. In addition to that, I believe from the manual it says that every 10 points of fear increases the difficulty of the morale check that it takes for you to resist the fear effect. So fear is actually best when it is a lot of units with mediocre fear, like 5 or 10. Having 71 fear, well, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and watch and see what happens when I try and take this throne of Lion Tribe warriors and, well, a monolith. So this is probably not going to end well for me because, well, we all know how super powerful monoliths are. I'll get to Armor in a second. Oh, hey, he might have actually done it. That would be funny. So I have him scripted to Invulnerability and Soul Vortex. And that's it. And then Fire. And I want him to fire because I want him to use this Plague Breath to give area fear and then have everyone run away. Oh, there's a horror and it attacks me, so oh well. Do 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 do. Oh hey, they're running away. Yay! That worked as intended. Flee! Flee from me, you fools! Yeah, the Soul Vortex is kind of essential because I didn't have Soul Vortex before, and he kind of got wrecked against, like, well, I sent him up against Springhawks. That is just idiocy incarnate. Springhawks are, first of all, morale 50, so that's not going to do boatload of anything. And then they also have lightning swarm, so they can't ethereal that he gets from having this item doesn't affect him at all. Now there's also at this throne, of course, a bunch of watchers, and they're just like lightning spamming me. Are they they're not gonna rout, are they? No, they're not. This is gonna be great. So yeah, I'm probably as you probably noticed, I named him Fear. Super original, I know. But yeah, these guys are also not going to rout, so this is going to take a while. Let's just skip ahead to the spoilers. He dies. yeah, I see. I figured that would happen. Once you get into like people who don't actually run away, he's not really going to do a whole lot. Well, there you go. You can get up to 71 fear with items and pretender chassis and everything like that. Now let's take a look at Airmore for a little bit of a second sort of bonus thing that I was doing while I was at it. I was like, oh hey, let's not put Airmore to waste. What I did with Airmore is I was already doing the fear thing. I wondered to myself, how many undead, how high can I get my undead leadership score? Because undead leadership is actually affected not just by death magic but by blood magic as well as various items. There are no boot slots that give you undead leadership, and there are no body slots that give you extra undead leadership. But for undead leadership, the Crown of Bones gives you the most, Rod of Death gives you some, Leper King gives you some, this Pocket Lich gives you some as well, that's an artifact, and yeah, Skull Talisman. It's not a lot of other things that give you high undead leadership for miscellaneous slots. So essentially, with all of this, it says 680. That's not actually how many units he's carrying around with him. Oh no, it is. Just kidding. So 680. There's your value. He can now lead 680 units, undead units, by himself, and they are not as inspired as they ought to be. But that's okay because they're undead. So yeah, over the course of this game, I had Airmore get up to like 2,000 units with this stack, and I was like, oh, you know, Springhawks, I could probably kill them with 2,000 undead, so I did. The reason I had to do that is because when my pretender died last time, he had the Crown of Despair on him, and it got stuck with Zeus over here, so I took that right back. Alright, well there you have it. Both the highest undead leadership that I could find in the game, as well as the highest fear that I could find in the game. And that has been today's version and episode of Stupid Crazy Builds. Next time we'll try something different. Have a good night. Thanks for watching.